We are here. What's up, Miss Tammy? How are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good.
Yeah, how is the facility?
You know, this is a really amazing facility.
And this is your first time here, right?
Yes.
Yeah, the building is probably 100 plus years old, but the elevator, they did such a great job renovating this facility, opening up to entrepreneurs so they can conduct business and make high impact on the community. And, it's been a blessing that I've been given that same opportunity to come here and conduct a podcast and connect with other great people, serve in the wellness and fitness industry. It's been amazing. But we're here to talk about you.
Okay.
We're here to talk about you, Miss Tammy, and everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in to the TC Lifestyle Fit podcast. We have an incredible, special human being on our show today, Miss Tammy Jones. Can you tell everyone about who you are and what you do for a living?
I am a senior program director at Mutual of Omaha here locally. I've worked there for just about 10 years now. But my program management career started probably 30 years ago. And it's a journey like it is with anything else, that you make mistakes and you learn from those and you grow. And it's what you do with them that made me progress up into the program director position. It's just how you foster and care for the teams that you work with and making sure that it's just an environment of continuous learning.
Be a perpetual learner. I love that. Tony Robbins, he's one of my favorite thought leaders. He's always talks about be a perpetual learner. Now, why did you choose a career in program management or to become a program director? What does that job entail exactly? I think all of us kind of have a general concept of what it is, but can you elaborate in more detail what a typical day looks like for a program director working for a large corporation like Mutual of Omaha?
Well, I didn't actually choose it. Project management chose me. I was working at First Data, and my position was being eliminated. And as part of the interview process, someone suggested that I should look into project management and look into the PMI, the Project Management Institute, which is just a group of like-minded people. And I did, and that's what launched me into the project management career. As someone who didn't go to college right out of high school, I just launched myself into the workforce with really no vision or goals or desires. It was just, I needed to make money and sustain myself, and so I did. And because of that one person who conducted that interview, it propelled me into a career of project management, which has progressed me up into the program director. What it does is, you can think about any project. Projects are generic. It's just a generic word, but it's industry agnostic. I work for an insurance company. I worked for a credit card. You could work in agriculture. It doesn't matter. Everybody's got a project of some kind, something that they need to achieve, and they need to bring a team of people together to accomplish it. And they need someone who can help guide them, knock down roadblocks for them, make sure that their priorities are in the right order, support them to the point that they need it, whether it's personally or professionally, to achieve that common goal and get the team to work unified to achieve the goal.
I love just how you talk about managing and leadership. One of my favorite books is Ego is the Enemy. And that's Ryan Holiday. And he always talks about the qualities of a great leader, how they always put other people first. And that's the role of someone who's helping groups of individuals achieve success on a project or in life or with a team. Can you elaborate on some of the more rewarding aspects of being in your profession and what you had to do as a leader to help your team reach higher levels of success on specific projects that you worked on?
Probably a unique quality to the way I manage projects or teams that I'm working with is I want to understand a little bit more about what they do. If I worked and managed IT technical projects for many, many years, and I'm not a programmer, I'm not a DBA, but I wanted to understand their world. And so I always took time to get a better understanding of what it was we were doing and how we were envisioning putting it together. I didn't have to learn it at the nitty-gritty detail, but I think it, one, helped me make better guidance decisions. It helped me make better business cases to leaders who might have countering opinions. And I think it helped the team understand that I truly cared about what we were trying to accomplish, how we were doing it, so that I could be that person that helps them be the most successful for the project, and then kind of fight for their thoughts, if that makes any sense.
Oh, that makes so much sense. How do you deal with a bad apple, so to speak, is for the team to move forward and get better and get the job done? You have personalities, people who fill different roles, who are good at specific skills. And if someone isn't doing their job at a high level, you as a leader, it's your job to identify that. Maybe you pull that person over to the side and explain what they need to do to get better. But how do you handle someone who's not being receptive to your leadership instruction?
Part of that is understanding the person.
Understand the person.
Because just because they might not be successful in what they're doing at the moment doesn't make them a bad employee. It might make them just misplaced, and they've got skills that are better in a different role.
I see.
And so you really have to take time to understand them, what motivates them, what are they good at, what do they desire, what's really going to make them thrive. And sometimes it's as simple as just making an adjustment to what they're doing to see them just shine and excel.
That's so good. There is a book by Gretchen Rubin. I can't remember what the name of it is exactly, but the 4 tendencies. And have you read that book at all?
Not.
And then she just talks about the personalities and the tendencies of individuals, which is important to understand as a leader, because we all have different personalities. You have someone who's like rebel, you tell them to do, like, no, I want to do it my way. And then you have the upholder, someone who just, you don't need to tell them anything. They're just going to get the job done because that's part of their DNA. And then you have a questioner, someone who, like, I don't know about this. They question pretty much everything. And then you have the obliger. They will get the job done as long as they have someone there to tell them what to do. Now, have you been in environments where you had to identify similar qualities in those people, and how? What's the process of doing that? What's your experience figuring that out and finding that out about a person? Because you can't just, like, meeting a person for the first time, identify what those qualities are.
You can't, but it does come back to learning the members of the team individually. If you look at some of the great coaches out there that coach athletics, they really focus in on the person as a whole, right? Their mind, their body, and their spirit, right? So if you are willing to take time to really get to know them, at least at some level as an individual, you can better understand what their personality type is. And as someone who needs and desires to lead a very successful team, sometimes you just have to be personally vulnerable. I don't know if you've ever seen Brene Brown's.
I love Brene Brown.
She's got
Atlas of the Heart. She wrote a book called Atlas of the Heart.
She also did a TED Talk on vulnerability. And, the journey of my career, at one point, I had someone who was courageous enough to pull me aside and, tell me how, I'm really great at driving teams and getting things done. But they wanted to see me a little bit more human. And, that really formed my leadership style as I progressed through my career, to just be human. I make mistakes, and everyone else does too. And if I have flaws, you just admit them, and it helps people understand you better and be willing to open up a little bit more. So coming back to your question of identifying all of the personality types, it's not as much needing to know their personality types, but finding a way for them to work together as a collective unit and just be a really high performing team. And in order to do that, you have to be humble enough to roll your sleeves up and
I mean, as the leader needs to be humble enough.
The leader has to be humble enough to be willing to go get them coffee if they've worked a 10-hour day, or, just do little things. Even be willing to help them with paperwork or just little things, and not put yourself above the team, but put yourself there as a supporter of the team. And, being a trusted advisor, they have to have someone they can trust. If they're having problems, now you have to make sure that their mind is in the right spot, right? So it's fostering a healthy team through being able to pay attention to the individual. And when you get to know them, it's easier to identify, you're having an off day. What can I do to help you?
How do you bounce back on those? I mean, as a leader, you probably going to feel off most of the time because it's a heavy burden to carry, because you're leading yourself, which can be tough sometimes. Now you're being called to lead other groups of people, and they have their own individual obstacles. And as a leader, if you go in with like a counterproductive type of energy, they're going to feel that, and nothing gets done. Have you ever had moments like that where you have this big project that you need to get accomplished in a short period of time, and you also, outside of that, have other obstacles that you're going through with your life? Like, how does the leader separate all that? Is it mental? Is it physical? Is there a perspective that you focus on to help you overcome those challenges? Like, what is the process you go through in those particular moments of your life where you have to lead, but you don't feel like it?
Many years ago, I adopted a philosophy that when I would come home from work, I would physically do an action of hanging up my hook coat or hanging up a key, even if I had nothing in my hand. It's a way of checking out. Okay, I'm done with work. Now it's time for my personal. And then I will pick that thing back up when it's time to go to work, in order to be the best I can be in both my personal and my professional life. And a lot of times when a team is struggling, they don't have the why or the context. They might not necessarily think that it's the best decision, but why was the decision made? Help them understand the context. And most of the time, the team will re-synergize and be in support or offer countering ideas. As a leader, you have to be very, very open-minded to, this might be what I think the best direction is, or that, a group of people have said, we need to do it this way. But if you're not willing to listen to the team, sometimes they've got some amazing thoughts and ideas that can get it done better, faster, quicker. And you can overcome obstacles or barriers by just helping them understand the why. Why are you asking them to do it a certain way? Or why are you asking them to do that? So if they understand that, they can go, yeah, but if we do it this way, it could be even better. That's a fantastic idea. Let's go do it. And now they're part of the solution.
Wow. Giving power to your team. That can be in trust, especially when you're working on a big project. How do you develop that trust? How do you just give them a project and let them fail and then pull them over to the side and then help them recover? And this is what you did very well. This is what we could do better next time. Or is there a process of giving your team an opportunity to earn different level of responsibility with the project?
So you talk about trust, and trust is a two-way street. The trust of the team and each individual and their trust within you. And you're trusting them to do a good job, do quality work, and they're trusting their leader to be there to support them, get their backs, do the right thing. And when they see you make tough decisions, but it's the right thing to do, and accept and bear the consequences for the team because you chose to make that decision because it was the right thing to do. There's a lot of respect that comes in that. And teams are more willing to follow someone who's willing to do the right thing for the betterment of either the project, the group, the team.
Wow. What's the toughest and most uncomfortable decision you've ever had to make it doesn't even have to be with work, just in general life, as a mom, as a wife, your parent, community leader, as an aunt, as a sister? What's the toughest decision you've ever had to make that got you way out of your comfort zone?
TC, that's a really tough question. Wow. I don't know that I can answer that because I can't come up with an example right now, because when I just in the moment trying to think back.
Probably so many situations in your life that you experienced
but
aligned with tough decision making,
Right. And to be successful, a lot of times you have to be uncomfortable to grow. And I'm struggling coming up with a single example, but I can tell you.
Talk about parenthood.
Oh, goodness.
Maybe we just narrow it down to that, because that's ultimately, leading at work, it's challenging, but you leave it, right? Work's work, whatever, you go home. But parenting, once you become a parent, it's a life commitment, and it comes with so many unforeseen events, unforeseen obstacles that you don't know how to deal with right away. You just figure it out.
Yeah. Well, I would have to say, in general, as a parent and a wife, the hardest thing is wanting to make a decision that your spouse does not agree with, but you know that the child would just really thrive in for whatever it is, whether it's, joining Boy Scouts or Girl Scouts or a club or whatever it might be. If the other spouse doesn't agree, but you feel so passionately about it that you're willing to put accept the consequences for making that decision.
I'm not accepting my wife's consequences.
It's really tough, right?
It is tough.
Because you can't put aside some of your passions.
Mm-hmm.
And it's one of those, I respectfully disagree at this moment. Those are really hard where the two parents don't necessarily align.
Yeah, because, the wife is great. Husband is great. Both have different perspectives on everything about life. There are a couple areas where the feelings and the understandings are mutual, but for the most part, our model of the world is not going to be the same, because I had a completely different life experience than my wife. Now we come together, and that's where some of the challenges come in. And I think we kind of blow up we find something small that isn't really that big of a deal about our spouse, and then we boom, blow it up. And then the good things about that we kind of minimize it. I think that's an important aspect of leadership, whether it's with your children, with your spouse, with the people you work with. Celebrate the good stuff, because there's more of that. There's more of the good things than there are of the aspects of that may not necessarily be as efficient. So can you kind of elaborate on how you go about identifying the positive in yourself and also in other people?
So for me, it's a global mindset of, even though this horrible thing is happening, whatever the situation might be, big or small, horrific or not, it's, what am I going to do about it? Right? And it's a mindset. And there's always a solution. And so it's the mindset of, I'm going to get through this. It's going to be okay. I have this thing blocking me and I have a barrier. What are my options? How do I solve it? And so it's the mindset of, I don't know if you'd call it optimism or positivity, but maybe it's a combination of both concepts. You're positive you're going to get through it, but you need to be open-minded enough and to see the options in front of you. Because if you're stuck in your grief, your depression, this awful thing is happening to me, I'm just going to be sad about it. You aren't going to see the different options of how to solve the problem. And then you can compromise, negotiate, pick a path, try one, it doesn't work, try another. It's process. Wow. You got this big barrier in front of you. And sometimes the barrier is not even really there. It's an invisible thing. Those are the hardest to overcome. Like this, I can take some brick or something and boom, and whatever, the process that goes into tearing a wall down. But the invisible barrier, where I have to do something that's hard and uncomfortable, that requires me to grow mentally and emotionally, that can be difficult. Oh, yeah. Can you tell us about a time in your life where you had to go through that? Now, I just have a couple more questions for you. I know I'm respectful of your time, but you are giving us some amazing information and just concepts on leadership. It's so beautiful. I appreciate you, Miss Tammy. But can you tell us about your personal experiences with the physical barriers, or, if I want to build, I know I got to do some push-ups, but the psychological, emotional barriers, those are tough. They are really tough. And at least for me. Yeah. And TC, I think we talked about this sometime after we first met. But over a 15-month period of time, I went through some very horrific things. And it is a mental state. I've lost my husband, I've lost my mom, and I've had to, not without crying. So, but I was depressed for, probably a solid year and a half. And trying to raise a senior in high school, a junior in high school, and care for yourself, it's impossible. So I channel my energy into my child, and then when my child graduates from high school, it's finally time for me. But I think I spent most of that time while trying to be positive for my son personally, just